Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. This is Ravindra Chaitanya Das from ISKCON Pune. I am on the call. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमाहं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam's 4th canto, chapter number 20, and the chapter is entitled Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu, and the verses we are reading is 35 and 36. So we'll recite the verse. Devarshi Pitra Gandharva Siddha Charana Panagaha Kinnarapsaraso Martyaha Khaga Bhutani Anekasha Yagyeshwara Dhyaragya Vagavitanjali Bhaktika Sabhajita Yayu Sarve Vaikunthanugatastatah. The translation. King Prithu worshipped the demigods, the great sages, the inhabitants of Pitralok, the inhabitants of Gandharvalok, and those of Siddhalok, Charanlok, Pannagalok, Kinnaralok, Apsarolok, the earthly planets, and the planets of the birds. He also worshipped many other living entities who presented themselves in the sacrificial arena. With folded hands, he worshipped all these, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the personal associates of the Lord. By offering sweet words and as much wealth as possible, after this function, they all went back to their respective abodes, following in the footsteps of Lord Vishnu. The purport. In modern so-called scientific society, the idea is very prevalent that there is no life on other planets, but that only on this earth do living entities with intelligence and scientific knowledge exist. The Vedic literatures, however, do not accept this foolish theory. The followers of Vedic wisdom are fully aware of various planets inhabited by varieties of living entities such as the demigods, the sages, the Pitas, Gandharvas, Pannagas, Kinnaras, the Charanas, the Siddhas, and the Apsaras. The Vedas give information that in all planets, not only within this material sky but also in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of living entities. Although all these living entities are of one spiritual nature, in quality the same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they have varieties of bodies due to the embodiment of the spirit soul by 8 material elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. In the spiritual world, however, there is no such distinction between the body and the embodied. In the material world, distinctive features are manifested in different types of bodies. in the various planets. We have full information from the Vedic literature that in each and every planet, both material and spiritual, there are living entities of varied intelligence. The Earth is one of the planets of the Bhurloka planetary system. There are six planetary systems above Bhurlok and seven planetary systems below it. Therefore, the entire universe is known as Chaturdasha Bhuvan, indicating that it has 14 different planetary systems. Beyond the planetary systems is the in the material sky there is another sky which is known as Paravyom or the spiritual sky, where there are spiritual planets. The inhabitants of those planets engage in varieties of loving service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which include different rasas or relationships known as Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras, and all Parkiyaras. This Parkiyaras or paramour love is prevalent in Krishna Lok, where Lord Krishna lives. This planet is also called Golok Vrindavan. And although Lord Krishna lives there perpetually, he also expands himself in millions and trillions of forms. In one of such forms, he uh, appears on this material planet in a particular place known as Vrindavan Dham, where he displays his original pastimes of Golok Vrindavan Dham in the spiritual sky in order to attract the conditioned souls back home, back to God. Hare Krishna. So we are very fortunate having gotten an opportunity to read and meditate a little bit on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the Paramhamsa Samhita, written for the Paramhamsas, and which is only a subject matter which can be contemplated by the Paramhamsas. So in today's verse, we are reading King Prithu Maharaja's worshipping the different demigods, the great sages, the inhabitants of Pitrulok, the inhabitants of Gandharvalok, those of Siddhalok, Charandok, Pannagalok, and Pannag means the inhabitants of the planets where serpents live. Kinnaraloka, Kinnar means the inhabitants of the Kinnar planets. Apsaraloka, where the Apsaras, the damsels of the heavenly planets, they stay. The earthly planets and the planets of the birds. Planets of the birds are called as Khaga Loka. Khaga refers to the birds. So with folded hands, he worshipped all these, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the personal associates of the Lord by offering sweet words and as much wealth as possible. After this function, they all went back to their respective abodes, following the footsteps of Lord Vishnu. Okay. So here we are reading Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse. Especially Prabhupada says that the material universe is not just limited to the earth planet, but we have full evidence from the Srimad Bhagavatam that there is a lot more than what is visible. In fact, human being has tried so far with all the modern technology, but he can at best reach only up to a few kilometers above the sky. Now in India, one of the most roaring news is that the ISRO has launched a Chandrayaan named satellite, uh, which will survey the moon, the south pole of the moon, and search for water and life, basically. So at best, human being with his tiny, puny intelligence and his defective devices is just able to survey the earth a little bit above that, and that too not very conclusively, that too not very uh, with, with surety. Things over there may change. Human knowledge has always been changing. It's very relative. Like years before, we were learning of Darwin and how the evolution has happened as Darwin taught us through the monkeys. But today, the situation is that the Darwin theory is not so widely accepted. In fact, in some of the educational universities and schools, it is even rejected, or it is prohibited, or it stands in a situation of doubt. Similarly, whether man has been able to go to the moon or to any other planets is a big topic of discussion, and many people believe on either side of them. So human being definitely has attempted to make some research, has attempted to make some advancement in the area of space research, but it still remains it still remains in doubt because it is not very assured, because the means that we are using to do the research are defective. So we learn from the scriptures that human being has four major characteristics, and one of them is because we have imperfect senses, we commit mistakes, we tend to get illusion, and then we want to hide our own mistakes. So we have a tendency to commit mistakes. We have a tendency um, to commit faults. So it is very essential to understand this nature of human body that has been given to us. That with all the species, like in human body, we find some species who are better skilled or better talented, or they have a better faculty of vision, taste, smell, etc. Like the dog, the cat, or maybe some birds, or maybe birds like peacock who have a better eyesight, or the eagle. But still, the range is better than the human beings, but still it is also fully different. Because after a certain range, even they are blinded. Or after a certain range, even they cannot distinguish between two sounds. Right? So, one thing that the Shastras teach us as the very basic lesson for all those spiritual seekers is that human form of life is valuable, it is rare, yet the body that has been given to us has a lot of defects. So, on one side, we understand the importance of human form of life. On the other side, we understand the frailty, the shortcoming in this body that has been given to us. It's full with defect. So, together, combined, we get an understanding that we have to depend on some another bona fide authority for learning how to make the best use of this rare opportunity of human form of life. Everybody is engaged in doing some or the other thing, and ultimately boiling down, all our endeavors boil down to one and only one thing, that is pleasure. The pleasure seeking tendency is there in every living entity because it is a part of the spiritual nature of the living entity. It's a part of the soul. The soul is pleasure seeking. Why? Because it is part and parcel of the supreme pleasure seeker, the Supreme Lord. So, because we are part and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we also own the nature of the Supreme Lord in the sense that we also want pleasure. But our search for pleasure ends in the human body. So, through different faculties, Krishna has given us an opportunity to seek pleasure. Through the eyesight, we can seek pleasure by seeing forms. Through the nostrils, we can seek pleasure by smelling different kind of aromas. Through the tongue, we can seek pleasure by tasting different kinds of foodstuffs. So many different varieties are there. And human being utilizes his intelligence to even create multiple tastes. Hmm. Frying, boiling, baking, roasting, uh, raw. So to get that taste. Hmm. And likewise, we have this whole faculty of human intelligence is engaged in only one thing, to derive pleasure. And this is where our consciousness is fully absorbed. Every living entity, right from a child to the oldest man, everyone is thinking of how to derive pleasure. Is it not true? Having understood that, it makes us think that when I am trying to derive pleasure, the subject of the pleasure, the object of the pleasure that I'm trying to derive pleasure from, I cannot eternally and consistently derive pleasure from that. Right? This is within our experience. This we can understand by Pratyaksh Praman. We can experience it. Like something we are, for example, some of our favorite thing that we are eating, which we like the most. But after eating a few morsels or a few quantity of that most beloved food item, we would like to stop. We would like to say no. That's all. So if pleasure is unlimitedly available in that foodstuff or in that object, why do we have to stop? Then the second understanding could be our senses are limited. So the stomach is full, so then it does not want any further pleasure. or when the taste buds are satisfied with that particular taste of that particular object, then they are looking for something else, some another taste. Essentially, one principle that comes out very vividly from this example is that the living entity's desire to seek pleasure does not end. However, the objects and the medium through which we want to seek pleasure, that is limited or it is temporary. So the desire, however, to seek pleasure does not end. So by variety, we want to continue our pleasure thirst, pleasure search. So for that matter, people are, when they are not satisfied within the planet of the Earth, then they want to go to other planets and continue their pleasure search. Why they want to go to the moon to find water? Oh, if there is some possibility of life, then we would like to see how life can exist over there. We'll try to want to do a proto model of that, send some people and see. So now this is an inquisitive, curious pleasure, pleasure to the intellect and pleasure to the mind. Hmm? Of course, it is about sensual pleasure, but it is giving some kind of pleasure to the intellect, or maybe to the ego, some pleasure to the ego. Oh yes, we did it. We were the first one to do it. Everyone came after us. So this mentality is also due to pleasure seeking spirit or desire of the living entity. Everyone is looking for pleasure. Everyone is looking for happiness, for something satisfying. Nobody attempts voluntarily, who is sane, I'm talking about, nobody attempts to go and hunt for misery. Right? So we know this, we have been hearing about it definitely, but it is definitely good to reiterate it because, in spite of knowing, still it's very difficult to overcome the conditioning, overcome the tendencies. So we have to keep on repeating and keep on hearing it. Now, here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada gives a different perspective to the whole episode of Pitu Maharaj paying obeisances to all these people. Srila Prabhupada says that based on the different modes of material nature, the different planets are created and the different living entities who are fit to be in those planets, they stay on in those planets. So we heard of different planets. We heard of the planets of the snakes. We heard of the planets of the birds. And there are some of these names which we might have not heard or imagined, like the Siddha Loka. Siddha Loka is a planet where all the Siddhas, the perfected mystic beings, the mystical beings, they stay there. They have got some siddhis which are not even accessible in this Bhuru Loka, Earth planet within the Bhuru Loka. So there is a Siddha Loka. Of course, it's a higher planetary system, and those who are staying over there, they have many siddhis. Now we know of 8 siddhis as such. The siddhi means a perfection, a mystical art. You can say it's a mystical power. So by which the living entity can access a domain which is not accessible to ordinary person. That's called a siddhi. Like if somebody can run, for example, each one of us can run 100 meters, but we can run it maybe 15 or 20 seconds. But if somebody can run it in 2 seconds, until now nobody is able to do that. But if somebody can do that, then we'll say he has a siddhi. He is able to access a certain domain which common man cannot do, and some extraordinary people also cannot do. Like we cannot stay beneath cold water, freezing cold water for maybe just more than a minute or so. But there are people who can take a dip and who can stay within that cold water for long duration of maybe minutes or hours. So then we will say that they have got that siddhi, perfection, mystical potency. So there are many siddhis, but Prabhupada has constantly told us about the 8 Ashta Siddhi, potency to become lighter than the lightest, heavier than the heaviest, or smaller than the smallest, larger than the largest, or to be able to control people, or to be able to access and get whatever is not even available nearby from a far off region, like that. So there is a planet called as the Siddhaloka where such people reside. They have undertaken austerity. It doesn't come without price. They have to pay the price. They have done the tapasya, and that tapasya has rewarded them a higher destination, but within the material world, within the material sky, Srila Prabhupada says. Then there are the Charanas, the inhabitants of the Charan Loka. This Gandharvas, Charanas, and Kinnaras, they are special beings who have certain more capabilities than human beings. Even the human being is not the best within the material sky, within the material universe. There are the Gandharvas, the Charanas, the Kinnaras who have more potency. Like Hanumanji is considered to be a Kinnar. Kinnar means Kimnara, whether he is a Nara or a monkey. Hmm. So upon seeing him, the body is like of a human being, but the head is like of that of a monkey. So Kinnara word is a question basically. Kinnara is he a man or a monkey? The Gandharvas we know the Gandharvas are very well tuned to dancing and singing. They are very expert and they go very well with the Apsaras. So Apsaras dance and the Gandharvas sing and they play musical instruments. So they are very very expert. For hours they can play such complicated and such fine music that is not practically possible. So even they have done some tapasya, therefore they are in the Gandharva lok. Like somebody who is a very very skilled singer, even in the material world, has to undergo austerity, else they cannot maintain their beautiful sound or they cannot maintain their fitness, their slimness for dancing. So they have to undergo some kind of austerities. Like in India, there is a the famous singer Lata Mangeshkar. It is heard that for years, for decades, she has not taken ice cream because she wants to maintain that sweet cuckoo sound. She is considered the Koyal cuckoo of India. Anyways, so likewise, everywhere it is there. There are some singers who are very popular and they want to maintain that because by maintaining, by undergoing that tapasya, they get another sense of pleasure, another sense of prestige, which is satisfying their mind, intellect, or ego. So everyone is looking for pleasure. Even in tapasya, even in austerity, after that, they're looking for pleasure. So they are ready to do that. And this is the Hiranyakashipu mentality. One is ready to undergo n number of austerities, which may be to the extent of Hiranyakashipu. I don't think anybody has been able to do that until now. What Hiranyakashipu could do, he fasted absolutely from from food, and he stayed standing in one foot for so many thousands of years that a ant hill came upon him. He was fully covered by an ant hill, and his body was fully eaten by the ants. What remained was only the bones. And he was so skilled that he managed his life to float within the bones. So he maintained that. So it's very, very wonderful to see that kind of austerity. But what is the motive of that austerity? The motive is one, to get more pleasure and enjoyment after. So similar is Ravan, similar is Kamsa, similar is any asura. So we have no issues with these people in person, individually, but we have issue, or the point which Srila Prabhupada is talking about is the pleasure seeking mentality that is there within every living entity that makes him transgress, or that makes him move from one planet to another planet. So Srila Prabhupada says that we know of this material world which is created by the eight material elements, namely earth, water, fire, and ether. These are the five gross elements. And mind, intelligence, and false ego are also there. So because of which the creation comes into picture. Just a second. So that is the situation with the material world. And Srila Prabhupada says that there are 7 planets below. The Earth is the 8th planet. Rather than saying Earth, better we call it Bhurloka. Bhurloka is a big platter in which there are many, many planets. Earth is one of them. The Bhurloka is the 8th one. And then above we have, in the Gayatri Mantra, we basically recite the names of these planets. Om, Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar. So above Bhurloka is Swargloka. Swargloka, that is the planetary system just above the Bhurloka. But there is one in between Bhuvar Loka also, which is a mezzanine, which is in between planetary system, which is a dark region, which has some floating planets. That is the Bhuvar Loka. So the Srila Prabhupada says Rahu and Ketu reside in the Bhuvar Loka. So Bhur Loka, Bhuvar Loka, Swar Loka, and Mahar Loka, the planet of the Maharshis, Tapaloka, Siddhaloka, Satyaloka. Satyaloka is the planet of Brahmaji. And that is the topmost planet. You can consider it like the terrace of this 7-story building, which has 7 floors beneath the ground: -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and -7. We have parking, which is a minus level parking, basement parking, and then the earth is on the ground floor, zero. You can say that it's on the ground floor. Then first floor is Swargloka, and above the earth we have 6 more planets. So Swargloka, Mahar, Jana, Tapas, Satyaluka. Satyaluka is the topmost. So it is on the 6th floor, the terrace, the topmost part of the building. After that, what? After that, the material sky ends. Brahmaji is the topmost person who is able to visualize everything from the terrace, because from the terrace you can see everything right up to the bottom. So above that, however, the material sky ends, and there is a new sky which begins, the spiritual sky. However, material sky is itself a very big topic of understanding. The material sky has 8 layers, one after another, increasing by a factor of 10. So these are layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. False ego being the last layer of the material sky, and each one increases by a factor of 10, multiplied by the multiply the previous layer by 10, and that much broad or that much wide or that much thick is that next layer. So it is understood that the ego layer, the last one, is the thickest to overcome. It's the most difficult to overcome, the layer of ego, right? Because that is the last layer of material sky. So philosophically, we can make a understanding from this that ego is very difficult to win, and one may be able to control the mind. One may be able to be equipoised in with. One may be able to live with equipoised intelligence, I should say. But to overcome the ego is 10 times more the effort. So it is very subtle and it is very sharp. The very sense of I am is ego. And then, as small this word is I, the larger are its repercussions. Because this I is subtly mixed everywhere in our consciousness. When we are thinking of eating, sleeping, or any activity that we are doing, we are basically I centered. So that is the layer of ego, and that is where the material sky ends. Now then from there begins the spiritual sky. And the spiritual sky doesn't have the kind of setting in the material sky. The spiritual sky, Prabhupada says, it is known as Paravyo. And there are planets over there also. There are 7 gates, as we know. There are 7 gates in the spiritual sky, one after another. Like what we see in the material sky, something like that. And why that is similar? Because material sky, material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. So we have 7 gates over there, one after another. And after that, after crossing those gates, we enter into Vaikuntha. And then, after we have entered into Vaikuntha, then further there are gradations in those planets. Vaikuntha being the beginning planet where a living entity comes after crossing those 7 gates. Then ahead of that is Dwarka, Ayodhya, Dwarka, and then going ahead is Mathura. Then going ahead is Vrindavan. Going ahead is Govardhan, and then going ahead is Radhakund Shamkund. So, in increasing order of mellow rasa exchange, or the planets become more and more complete, right? So, what rasa is experienced in the Vaikuntha Loka, the planet above that, the Vrindavan planet, has all of that plus something extra. So, Ayodhya will have Aishwarya Bhav, which which is the predominant mode, predominant rasa of the Vaikuntha planet, and more. And then Dwarka will have that, and whatever Ayodhya has, and even more. And likewise, we keep on increasing, and Radhakund and Shamkund in Govardhan will have all the rasas in unlimited variations, permutation combinations, and quantity. So this is how the spiritual planets are also designed. And Srila Prabhupada says that there are these five mellows, the rasas, relationships known as Dasiras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuriras, and Parkyaras. Now, in all these different planets, there are living entities. It is not that because now this is the spiritual world and Parakyaras is the highest, so everyone is aiming for that. And the planets of Vatsalyaras and Madhuriras are absolutely empty. Or the planets of Dasiras and Sakyaras have no one, no candidate. No. There are big number of people, living entities everywhere, because those who are situated in a particular rasa believe their own rasa to be the best rasa. So those who are in Dasiras, they never feel embarrassed that we are fifth in the ladder. Above us is Sakyaras, and above them is Vatsalyaras, and then Madhuri and Parki. No, they are very much satisfied being in Dasiras because that is what they have perfected after years of practice in the material world. They are very happy, they stay in the Parakyaras and they continue their serving in the Parakyaras. So that is the beauty. And those, sorry, I was speaking about Dasiras. And similarly, those who are in Sakyaras, they stay in Sakyaras, they are very happy to associate with other living entities of the same mind, and they want to serve Krishna in Sakyaras. And they do not get bogged down because Krishna is not exchanging Madhurya Rasa. In fact, they would feel out of space if Krishna starts engaging in Madhurya Lila, the Sakhas. So, so they very much enjoy their own rasa. So that is the point. Like in the material world also, there are people who are very much satisfied being in a hutment. Some people are very much satisfied being in a rented apartment. For lifetime, they do not want to think that they want to own a bungalow or a villa and they want to stay within it. They're very satisfied. And likewise, Krishna has these living entities who are exchanging with him in different rasas. What is the beauty of this whole thing is that Krishna has given full independence to the living entity. If he wants to go to the worst condition in the material world, that is also allowed. If he wants to go to the highest possible condition in the spiritual world, that is also allowed. Only the living entity has to do one thing. He has to decide. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. That is one word of 6 letters that can make a big difference, a change in our whole existence. Desire. What we desire for. How is our desire? And how much it is tainted with the pleasure-seeking mentality. So desire is practically the basis of everything that we want to do in the material life or spiritual life. Even for being a good practitioner of spiritual life, we have to have a desire. Without desire, nothing can move. Like in India, many times, and everywhere else, whenever we invite people for our programs, they say that Lord has not yet desired. When Lord desires, I will come. That means I am already desiring, only the Lord has to desire. However, the vice versa is true. Lord is always desiring, but I am not desiring. Because I am busily desiring something else. So therefore, because I am busy in something else, I am not interested in coming to your spiritual programs. So desire is one thing that makes our future, that makes our destiny, that makes whatever we will be in the next life. If we just continue to desire sense gratification, then our future is surely sealed. That we will get a species in which we will get unlimited sense gratification, no doubt. Krishna does not interfere with the desire of the conditioned soul. But of the liberated soul, maybe Krishna can make a choice. If the liberated soul has prayed to Krishna according to that, and if Krishna deems it fit, then he may interfere in the desire of the liberated soul also. But otherwise, by and large, for the conditioned soul, Krishna does not interfere in his desire. He allows him to desire. Krishna is just the sanctioner personality of Godhead. So there are these three Purushas, or the three, you can say, personalities involved in the whole creation process. So living entity is the living entity is the desirer, material creation is the facilitator, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the sanctioner. So there is a desirer, there is a facilitator, and there is a sanctioner. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead facilitates, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead sanctions, whereas Prakriti facilitates. But the living entity is one who desires, and everything starts from the desire. So simple and small steps that we can take in our spiritual life are to check the quality of our desires, what we are desiring for. Now, on a practical ground, when we come into process of Krishna consciousness, not that everything changes overnight. It takes many, many nights. It takes many, many years, right? So the quality of desire keeps on changing, and we should ensure that it is changing over a period of say 6 months or a year. We should be able to look back and see whether the quality of my desires has become more spiritual or not. We may not be able to fulfill our desires because of physical material limitations, but yet the subject is the same, that we have to change the quality of desires. Why? Because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yam Yam Vapi Smaranam Bhavam Tyajanti Ante Kalilam. The word Bhavam comes 3 times in those particular series of verses. Yam Yam Vapi Smaranam Bhavam Tyajati Ante Kalilam. Tam Tam Evaiti Kaunteya Sada Tad Bhava Bhavitaha. So here the word Bhava will indicate the mood or the desire with which the living entity is living his body. So one part is karma, the actions that he has done throughout his life, accumulated actions, and those pending from previous lives, which are still to fructify. And the other part is his desire. What is he desiring for? Now, the beauty in Krishna consciousness is that the bhava is taken care of. In the material world, if we have done wrong, suppose we have killed someone, then that is the action by which the judge will decide our reaction, the punishment. Suppose if I killed someone, then probably I'll be jailed for some number of years. If my mood is self-protection, or if it was unintentional, then maybe the number of years may be a little less, but I'm bound to suffer. But Krishna considers the desire as very, very pivotal. What was his desire? What was his intention? What was his mood while doing a certain thing? Now, in our material lifestyle, we are not able to read the mood and the desire of the person on the other end. Somebody said something to me, I'm not able to understand with what intention. We may be just seeing the gross. He said, and he chastised me. But what was the intention? What was the mood? At times, theoretically, we may understand it also, but still in our heart, it may not convince us. But that is not the case with Krishna, because he stays in the heart. He knows what is the desire, what is the intent, what is the mood in doing whatever the living entity has done. So that is to our advantage. Even though physically, if we are not able to do things because of health, because of distance, because of physical ability, inability, yet when we are desiring, then Krishna is surely counting. And the more we desire Krishna conscious or Krishna conscious mm, things in our life, then Krishna will facilitate them, and he will give us the required marks to our credit. So it is a very beautiful thing to understand that Krishna considers the desire, the intent. Therefore he says, Ye yatha mam prapadyanti, tam stataiva bhajami. So with whatever mood one surrenders to me, I also reciprocate accordingly. Right? So this is very instrumental. And here we are reading about Sri Prithu Maharaj, who paid obeisances to many, many living entities who came from the different planets. Essentially, the thing to be understood over here is that the living entities are from different planets. Planets are existing across the whole material world. There's no need of any research. The Bhagavatam says it, so we can just simply believe it. And however, Srila Prabhupada says that apart from the material world, there is also a spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky, there is a different ball game. The living entities have a spiritual body. Here our bodies are material. There we have a spiritual body. Here our bodies can be spiritualized by engaging them in spiritual service. We can spiritualize the body. The body doesn't become spiritual. The body becomes spiritualized by engaging it in spiritual service. So if we are engaging our body in cooking prasadam, then that prasadam is also spiritualized. That food is also spiritualized. Surely it will become stale after 2 3 days. Yeah. So that's not the characteristic of spiritual nature. Spiritual things don't become stale, right? In fact, the taste and the aroma and the beauty of that increases every moment, but that doesn't happen. So the things become spiritualized here. Likewise, for our body, we can spiritualize ourselves, we can spiritualize our consciousness, we can spiritualize our nature by choosing the right kind of association, which is very important in this age of Kali, because in Kali Yuga, energy or strength comes from Sangha, from association. The kind of people with whom we associate, the type of people, and the frequency with which we associate will increase our strength. So it is very important that through this medium, which has been running successfully for past so many years, so many people are getting connected. However, we would like to see the numbers of viewers and the number of people getting connected to the group increase. I think there are more than 100 people connected to the group, but regularly I think there are only 15, 20 or 25 people hearing the classes. So if that can increase, it will be really to our benefit, because we can get that association staying within our own home. And by associating, then our desires can change, our perspectives to spirituality can change, our pleasure seeking mentality can change, and likewise we can progress in our spiritual life. So I think that is the more important purport that we can take from today's verse, and from today's verse. So that is to our benefit. So thank you so much. If there is any question, or if there is any comment, or anybody would like to share something, the forum is open. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji. Hmm. It's a very important question, very nice question. Thank you for asking that. Austerity basically is voluntarily taking inconveniences for rising above, for advancing, for going ahead somewhere. So where are we rising above? That is very important. In the case of Hiranyakashipu, and all the other asuras, where were they rising after their austerity? They were rising in their egos were getting inflated, their pleasure-seeking mentality was increasing. So austerity, that doesn't become austerity then for a Krishna conscious devotee. So our goal is to basically advance in spiritual consciousness. So that should be the ultimate mood when we are undertaking austerity. For example, on Ekadashi, when we are fasting, we recently fasted on the Ekadashi. So the mood should be how I can utilize that opportunity for advancing in my spiritual consciousness. I think that is the right mode, and without that mode, it would be just shram, just hard labor. Because without that mode, either we will be just neutrally performing austerity for the sake of nothing, or in fact, negatively performing the austerity for increasing our own material attachments. Like someone may be fasting Nirjala on Ekadashi, but at the opportune moment, he may open his silence and boast about it. And he may not be so modest or humble as it is expected from someone who is performing that Nirjala Ekadashi. But in fact, his ego will get inflated. So any kind of austerity we do, it should be with this purpose of increasing our spiritual consciousness. Now, having said that, I would like to say that in Kali Yuga, we need not actually go to the forest, we need not stand underwater beneath it, above it, we hang on the tree, or sit on some between fire. We need not do that. We are not even made for that. We can't even do that. If you're just able to stay within devotee association and tolerate them, if we are able to just tolerate the, especially when we are staying in active devotee association. Now this online devotee association, we may not be able to see the lower nature of everyone. I do have a lower nature, every one of us has that, unfortunately. Now this lower nature is visible when we are staying actively with someone. So when we see that lower nature, we understand he is not so transcendental, he is actually very normal or abnormal. If we are able to tolerate that, that's an austerity for us. Many times we are able to tolerate the hunger of food, the thirst for water, but we are not able to tolerate this devotee with us. So austerity should bring us to a point where we can advance our consciousness. We should be able to accommodate every living entity. We should be able to with a broad, welcoming, uh, graceful welcome. We should be able to accept every living entity. And if you see, uh, putting a material example over here, there were people like Mother Teresa and Jesus Christ, or many of these paigambers or saints also of the past, who were able to embrace people. So, in my life, I'm trying to make a mantra: accept people for what they are. That's where you start with them. So that sets us very well at a point where we are not expecting, but we are accepting, and that's the biggest austerity in Kali Yuga. Because as devotees, we have to stay within association and increase the association. And more the association means more the variety, more the mindsets, more the thought processes, and more confusions. So how we are able to contain everyone within the association, I think that's the biggest austerity in Kali Yuga. And if somebody is able to do that, he is actually performing the right austerity. I hope that clarifies your question. Any other question? Anybody else? I couldn't clearly hear your question. If you could please repeat it a little bit more loudly. Yeah. How do we define false ego? That is very difficult to define, because false ego means believing ourselves to be the center of everything. The sense of individuality is there within every living entity, and undeniably that will continue to remain. We cannot give it up any point of time. That okay, this is what the Mayavadis and the Brahmavadis are trying to do. They want to give up their individuality. So as devotees, we understand that that is not our goal. We don't want to give up individuality. We want to continue with it. But that individuality that we carry with us brings us to a point where we start feeling or we start wanting certain level of attention, or we start feeling that I'm the center of everything that is going on, to such an extent that we want to, even whereas God should be in the center and we should be around him, we think that now I should be in the center and God should be around me. So when there is a flower, there is a center and there are petals around the flower. So likewise, the devotees are supposed to be like those petals who are to be centering the Supreme Lord. But because of having years of practice of something called as a false ego, when we say false ego, that means there should be something true ego also. So true ego means understanding rightfully what is my position, what am I. And Srila Prabhupada says it very succinctly and in a very simple words from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He says, Jivera Swarupa Nitya Krishna Das. So who is living entity? He is servant of Lord Krishna. He is Nitya Krishna Das. This is the true ego. Anything apart from that, anything apart from thinking that I am Krishna's servant is called as false ego. Now that will be very sweeping. Anything apart from thinking that I am Krishna's servant is false ego. Thinking ourselves to be something else than Krishna's servant will be called as false ego. So we think of ourselves as so many different things. We think of ourselves as a person, as a human being, as a gents, as a female, as a Indian American. We think ourselves as Brahmachari, Mataji, Prabhuji, and then we have so many other positions and designations that we have acquired in the course of our staying in the material world for so many unlimited years. Even in this short span of say 30, 40, 50 years that we have been staying, we have acquired so many designations. I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a son, I'm an engineer, I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm a subordinate. I am something apart from Krishna conscious role. It will be broadly categorized as false ego. So I think that is what should answer your question. Thank you, Mataji. Any uh, yeah, I will speak to you. Bhuvar Loka is it is a place. It is the middle planetary system. I'm referring to Srila Prabhupada's quote. This is a place in between the Bhuloka and Bhurloka, that is the earthly planets, and the Swargloka. So there is a Bhuvar Loka, group of planets which are basically dark, and I'm just getting the right quote. Give me a minute, please. So Prabhupada says that those influenced by the mode of passion are given places in the Bhur Loka and Bhuvar Loka. Above the Bhuvar Loka is Swarga Loka. Swarga Loka is the heavenly planet that we generally refer to Swargalok. So the Bhuvar Loka has some dark planets. It is in the Antariksh outer space, and there are planets like Rahu, Ketu, etc., which are Bhuvar Loka is the planet of ghostly spirits. Srila Prabhupada says Bhuvar Loka is that planet where ghostly spirits reside. Not a very auspicious place to be. So above Bhu is Bhuvar, then is Swarlok, then there is Maharlok, Maharshilok, then there is Janalok, uh, and then there is Tapalok and Satyalok. So Bhuvar is another planet that comes in between. That is what we could gather from the Veda base. It's a planet of the ghostly spirits. Yeah, they are part of the 14 planetary system. Yeah. So there are these planets above, like Bhu, Bhuvar, Swar, Mahar, Jana, Tapas, Satya. So if Bhu planet is on the ground floor, then there are 6 planets above that: Bhuvar Lok, Swar Lok, Maharlok, Janlok, Tapalok, and Satyalok. And there are planets below the Bhulok, and their names are Tala, Atala, and Vitala, Nitala, Talatala, Mahatala, and Sutala. Prabhupada says these names in Chaitanya Charitamrita Lila. So the lower planets summed together are called as Patal. Patal means beneath, underground. So they are called as the Patal, and the upper planets are generally called as Swarlok, or the higher planets, the advanced planets. And the middle planets, the Bhu and the middle planet, the Bhu Lok is called as the Madhyalok, where people are sure to die. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses this word Mrityu Loke. So this material word is Mrityu Lok, the Bhu Lok is Mrityu Lok, death is certain. So that is how the three-fold planetary system, the lower, the middle, and the higher planets are divided. Anything else? Hare Krishna. Any other question, or we hang up over here? So I think we stop here. Hare Krishna. Yes. Bhuvar. Bhuvar. VAR. Yeah, the middle.
अरे ये सेवा ऑफिस बंद है क्या पैसे सेवा ऑफिस ऑनलाइन क्लास सेवा ऑफिस
Sorry, I couldn't follow your question. Please come once again. Okay, so the first thing is that Bhurloka, spelled as Bhur, Bhurloka is the platter, is the place where Earth is located. So we are talking of Bhurloka when we talk of Earth. Earth is just one planet in the Bhurloka. You can consider it like a floor in a building where there are many offices and rooms or flats. So a loka is like a floor, and Earth is one such flat or one such apartment within the that particular floor. That is about Bhur Loka. And similarly, above that is a planet called above that is a loka called as Bhuvar Loka. Bhuvarloka. Now that is above the earthly planet, and there also on the Bhuvar Loka also there are many planets where different living entities reside. But predominantly there are the ghostly spirits who are more powerful than the human beings they reside. So this is the middle planetary system, right? And then from there above are the higher planetary systems. the Swargloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka. So that is how the planetary systems are arranged, as we understand from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other scriptures. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes. Okay. 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 So if we are on the first floor, that first floor is called Bhur Loka. Okay. Okay. And and this Bhur Loka, or it can be also called as Bhu Loka. It's one and the same thing. Bhur Loka or Bhu Loka. The R is missing in the other name, but it's just essentially the same thing. That is floor number one. Then floor number two is Bhuvar Loka, Bhuvarloka. That is floor number two. Okay. Then above that is Swarga Loka, which is the heaven known to us. Swarga Loka, Swar. It is shortly called as Swar. That is floor number three. Then above that is floor number four, and that is called as Mahar Loka, Mahar, Mahar Loka, and that is floor number four. Okay. Then floor number five is Janaloka. Janaloka means the planet of the yogis, basically. Hmm? Janaloka. So that is floor number five. Then there is sixth floor is Tapaloka, the planet of the austere people, Tapaloka. Then seventh is Satyaloka, planet of Brahmaji. So like that we have Bhuvar, Swar, Mahar, Jana, Tapa, and Satyaloka below. Right, right. In group, they're called as Patal, but they have also different names. Like the one which is immediately below. In our case, you can call it. In fact, we would like to renumber them. Rather than calling ourselves being on the first floor, let's call us being on the ground floor. Okay. So then the minus one will be Tala, that is spelled as Tala, Tala Loka. Then minus 2 will be Atala, Atala. Then minus 3 will be Vitala, Vitala. And minus 4 will be, Prabhupada says, Nitala, Nitala. Minus 5 will be Talatal, Talatal. Number 6 will be Mahatal, Mahatal. And number 7 is called as Sutala, Sutal. These 7 below are together termed as Patal. Sometimes there are different names also which are given for these planets. The Pitraloka that we read in the verse just now in the translation is a planet which is situated below. It is even below Sutal, where the Pitris or the forefathers reside. So there is a Pitraloka over there. So these are again, as rather than saying planets, I would call them as floors in which there are many planets. So on each floor there are many planets, small and big. Now science has proven that on our earthly realm, on this particular floor, the 0th floor, there are so many planets. So many of them are visible from the Earth also, right? we have discovered Mars, Neptune, Pluto, etc. So call them to be on the Bohr Loka. Then when likewise we go to higher planets, we will have a different set of astronomy, newer planets, newer names which are not even visible from this sky, from this Earth. So likewise, this is a very complete, elaborate science, and most of it is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam's fifth canto, some of it in the second canto. But by and large, if somebody wants to study it in detail, he has to also take help of other scriptures, which are absolutely focused on the subject of astronomy. Ha, yeah. Uh, Also, one point to add over here is that these Patalokas are basically dark planets where the sunshine doesn't reach, and therefore we termed them as -1, -2, likewise, because in a basement of your building, you don't have the sunshine lighting up the building, the lighting of the basement. You have to use artificial lighting because you're beneath the ground and there is no direct natural light coming. So, likewise, in the Patalokas, one essential thing is that they do not have the direct sunlight. That therefore they are more situated in mode of ignorance, tamogun. So tamogun is, as we keep on going down and down, tamogun increases, darkness increases because the sunlight can't reach. So the more down we are, the more we are in tamogun, more in darkness. The more up we are on the higher planetary scale, the more we are in the brighter zone, and therefore goodness, mode of goodness increases because mode of goodness is bright. Earthly planet, the Bhur Loka and Bhuvar Loka are like in passion. So predominant mode in this earth is passion. Now, it is not that because the planets below are in dark, they are less advanced or they have a lot of misery all the time. No, the misery place is one which is below. Below all the Patal Lokas is a place called as Nark. Nark means now hell. So hell is has to be in dark for, it's a very common feeling that we all also experience, that darkness is very troublesome. Therefore, we always want to be in light, right? Even a child, if he has to be punished, the mother puts him in the bathroom and closes switches of the light because that causes some anxiety to the child. So likewise, the Narkalok is some planet below. It is next to the Pitralok, and that is where the punishment and judgment part happens. Baki, the other planets which we are talking of in the Patal, the Atal, Vital, Sutal, it's not that they are devoid of any kind of pleasure or they are always for misery. In fact, Bali Maharaj was made the king of Sutal Loka. So he has got very good facilities. However, one thing which Srila Prabhupada mentions, that in these lower planets, the material consciousness is more, being because they are situated in Tamagun, the material consciousness is more, and at the same time, they are more dependent on artificial technology, technology for their upkeep, for their illumination, for their facilitation. So the lower planets are more sound technologically even than the higher planets. Therefore, there is a lot of yantra vidya. Yantra vidya can be considered as engineering in our day-to-day life. There is more engineering in the lower planets than in the higher planets. We could say that, but they are in darkness. They are in ignorance. That is the point. I hope that clarifies. Referring particularly to the hellish planets where the sufferings are given, which are also not, which are also unlimited, out of which 28 are prominent and they are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the in the section of hellish planets. The fifth canto speaks about it towards the end. that there are thousands of hells. Now we're talking of the absolute bottom of the material creation, okay, the hellish planets. Patalokas by themselves are not meant for suffering, but in a sense, because a person is in mode of ignorance, because the living entity is tied to mode of ignorance and he is living a life of ignorance, there will be suffering in that sense. In that sense, yes. But otherwise, the punishment giving zone is in the hellish planet, in the realm of the hellish loka, where there are thousands of planets to give suffering, out of which 28 names are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, fifth canto. I think the last chapter is 27 or 28 chapter, where some number I don't remember. So there the names of planets are given, like the Kumbi Park or Raurav, Maharaurav, and yeah, yeah, yes, yes. It is the bottom tip of the Pataloka. Yeah, and I would say colloquially worded as Pataloka because it is a lower planet, just like how we say higher planets as Swargloka. Although Swargloka is just above the earth in that sense, but any higher planet is called as Swargloka. That is the word given to the higher planets. So likewise, the Pataloka word is basically given to the lower planets, out of which Nargloka is the one where the judgment and punishment happens. Mhm. That's not a place of residence, that's a place of punishment. So living at it's a place where living entities go for some kind of atonement. They are sent to the Pitraloka. They reside in the Pitraloka. Yes, there are living entities who reside in the Pitraloka, and probably it could be one of the planet on the lowest platter also, lowest platter, the Loka which we are mentioning. Uh, like there are different planets on a particular platter. The Bhur Loka has so many planets. We were talking about that, so it could be one of those planets. But as far as we see in the geography of the Vedic cosmos, the Narkloka and the Pitraloka are side by side, and they are the ones which are the bottom tip of the whole material creation. That is what we understand from the different. I didn't read any particular place where Prabhupada gives any relationship, but Pitraloka we understand that it is the place where it is the world, it is the place. Sorry, it is the place where the ancestors reside. It is the place where ancestors reside. That is what Sri Prabhupada says. So the people who worship the ancestors go to the planet of the Pitris, Pitraloka, and Srila Prabhupada constantly mentions about it in different places. So Srila Prabhupada, yeah, where? Pitraloka? I can't say anything about that. I would like to. No, Pitraloka Srila Prabhupada says is the place where ancestors reside, and those who worship the Pitris, the ancestors, they reside in those planets. Not much is mentioned more on the Pitraloka. Maybe we can do a real detailed research and let you know if you are interested in knowing more about it. Yeah. Hmm. There would be difference because the center of attraction is a different personality with a different mood. Like we hear of Lord Ramchandra, who is the center of worship in the planet of Ayodhya, Saket Dham. So he has a particular set of qualities which he displays, which are, as it is understood, which are lesser than what Krishna manifests. So the Dwarka residents will have a Aishwarya Bhav, but there the object of worship, Krishna, is filled with the 64 qualities. He fully manifests those 64 qualities, and the residents will have awe and reverence even towards those qualities which are not displayed by Lord Ramchandra in the planet of Ayodhya. No? Lord Krishna is a personality of Godhead with full 64 qualities, and Lord Ramchandra is personality of Godhead who manifests 60 qualities. So the awe and reverence, I'm saying, awe and reverence towards Krishna will be different than towards Lord Ramchandra, because the personality who is in the center is different. With and then I said that Lord Ramchandra manifests 60 qualities and Lord Krishna manifests 64 qualities. So the residents may have different modes in serving the Lord in awe and reverence. 60 qualities. Hmm. Yeah, I think that is not the subject of our discussion today in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Maybe we can take offline discussion on that, and you can maybe send. Yeah, yeah. So Srila Prabhupada, whatever he mentions in the purport, that's what I elaborated. Maybe if you have a certain particular question, if you can write a mail to me, then maybe I can just get proper quote for that will be very nice. And the questions can also be onto the subject. Right? Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, do we hang up here, or is there any other question? Jai, Jai. No, Hare Krishna. Thank you to all of you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.